Hello, Yakri here with another commentary video. This time I want to talk about this post that I woke up to on the Warframe subreddit. So I just woke up and I saw this post right at the top of the subreddit, with a ton of upvotes, and I was like, this is it. Sacrifice has launched. I'm gonna get to play it before I leave on my trip. And then my brain actually processed what the title of the post was, and it's a very scary title, It's, Attention, Warframe developers are sharing your data with spyware creators. It's pretty intimidating. Except that it's all bullshit. So, first off, of course, this post has since been retracted because DE Rebecca confirmed that Digital Extremes has not actually worked with this company being accused of creating spyware at all, and apparently never has and does not currently, and so it's completely moot point. They're not using it at all. And the funny thing is, this could have been easily verified because presumably Warframe, since they don't use it, does not have the DLL required for Redshell in the game directory. And this guy could have just gone and checked that. Anyone could have checked it and found out that they don't partner with they don't actually use Redshell. Anyway, but to be fair, they did have a copy paste error that said that they shared some information with marketing partners such as Redshell. So yeah, okay, well, let's talk about what Redshell actually is, though, because this is really the interesting thing. And Redshell is getting a ton of attention on other subreddits like Steam for being spyware. And so I haven't reverse engineered their DLL and or decompiled it rather, and taken a look at what exactly their software does. However, this guy has made this post based on, and this is what sparked this Warframe post, which is why we're getting into it. And he has made the assumption or drawn the conclusion that Redshell is spyware based on what they say on their website. Right? He says Redshell is spyware. It tracks data of your PC and shares it with third parties. On their website, they formulate it all in very harmless language, but this is actually spyware. Okay, so if we look at their website, what's this harmless language, right? So this harmless language, aka what it's actually doing. Okay, so when you click on an ad, Redshell logs some information about you that they can get from just you accessing a website or clicking an advertisement. So this is probably a couple things like the list of fonts on your computer and your IP address. They're not logging your IP address anymore, but that's what they used to do anyway. And so that's like a whole. We'll get into that a little bit later. So they log like your font list and your IP address, and that's pretty much it. And they hash that information and encrypt it. And so then that information is stored remotely. They don't share it with other people or anything, as far as unless they're actually breaking the law and doing stuff that they're not telling you. And so then when you install a game from Steam or elsewhere, and it has Redshell's DLL, the first time you boot up the game runs once, and it checks their server and it says, hey, is this computer that I'm running on, does it have the same IP address and font list as one of the people who's clicked on our ads? And that's it. That's the whole thing. And they lets developers know if their advertisements are working, right? Like if you clicked on an advertisement for the game and you bought it, that's what it lets them know. And that's it. That's the whole thing. That's what Redshell does. You don't have to 100% like that. I mean, I understand some people don't really like having their online activities tracked and whatnot. It's the reality of modern life, I think. But if you don't like it, okay, that's fine. However, it's pretty disingenuous to use words like it's spyware, right? Because spyware is a loaded word, and it's one I think that has been kind of diluted in recent times, or perhaps diluted by people in misusing it, perhaps intentionally. To have an implication, right? That's what a loaded word means. For those of you who aren't familiar, a loaded word is a word that has some meaning beyond the information conveyed by the definition of the word, right? Like if I say that's a rock, all it's conveying is that that's a rock. If I say that's the murder weapon, it's not the best analogy, but it's implying that was the rock that murdered someone. But to use it another way, I say that guy killed somebody, right? That could be an accident, right? He could have killed someone by accident. Maybe, it was self-defense. Someone else was trying to kill him. He's killed somebody before. If I say that guy murdered somebody, that's a very different connotation. That means that without justification, he killed someone, right? As in he murdered an innocent person, in an unjustifiable way. Okay, and he did it on purpose, in particular, right? It wasn't just an accident. Or he did it in some way that makes him 100% responsible for it happening. And so that's what it means. It's a loaded word, right? To say this is a data gathering service is accurate, right? But it's not a loaded word. And you could perhaps say that some spyware could be described as data gathering services, but spyware implies if you really use the more strict full definition that used to be the only definition of spyware back in the day. Before apparently this is news to me, but apparently just cookies are spyware now. But back in my day when we had dial-up, spyware was like keyloggers and shit. So basically software that is running without your permission on your computer and is used to collect information about you with malicious intent. Malicious meaning intending to do harm. Serving ads to you is not malicious intent, okay? Just to clarify here, I don't care if you don't like it, it's not malicious. It's totally, up to you whether or not you dislike this, but it's not malicious either way. So yeah, that's the point I'm getting at there. And so this is clearly not malicious, and so I'd say it's not spyware, and it's unfair to characterize their software as spyware without any justification. And in particular, this guy is just reading this and he's like, "It's spyware." Okay, that's ridiculous. The other thing is that I'm pretty sure I know Warframe even though they weren't even using the service, and they had it in their privacy terms of service, right? So it should be the case. I'm pretty sure it's legally required that any company using this has it in their terms of service. So a lot of people are like, I didn't agree to this. Well, I didn't agree to have Punkbuster, that stupid fucking virus-like piece of shit running on my computer per se either. However, I'd like to play some games that require it, and so I agreed to their terms of service, which say that I have to fucking use it to use their online service. So I did actually agree to it, and you did actually agree to have Redshell installed on your computer and run on your computer. And I'm kind of like 50-50 on this. On the one hand, terms of service for games are ridiculous and bloated and intentionally designed so that you won't read them. On the other hand, if you don't read them, it's somewhat ridiculous that you're so upset and like up in arms about the stuff being in them. Like, it was done without your permission. Well, they notified you, strictly speaking, and you agreed to have this run on your computer. If you really cared that much, you could have read through it. I don't read through it because I don't give a shit. Okay? If I did, I would actually read through it, but I don't. Okay, that's what I'm saying is you want to get up in arms about it. At least why don't you maybe read through this, read through their terms of service, see that they say that, oh, we're going to use this software to track this marketing partner to track your data. And yeah, anyway, so part of the other reason I think this is a little ridiculous is because this is a very mild form of data gathering. Actually, they appear to follow pretty good practices for keeping your data anonymous. They don't really do much with your data. They don't as far as their privacy policy and whatnot is concerned. To the best of my knowledge, they don't share your data gratuitously with people. They just partner with developers, and they just tell developers if their ads, if you played their game, bought their game after viewing ads for it, right? That's it. That's what their whole business strategy is. And they've got this blog post where they talk about how they do it, and they say like, all right, we gather IPs and we use that, right? And so they're following GDPR compliance. They're basically going to take their already fairly good practices with gathering your IPs and restrict them a little bit more. I mean, your IP is kind of personal, but it's also, keep in mind, IP address. This is something that's personal to you and every other computer on your network, and anyone who comes to visit your house and your cell phone. They're not that personal, and they're not permanent either. So I'm a little dubious about these claims that this is like super sensitive personal information. It's super serious that they're gathering it, and you should freak out. All right, so what else have I got to go with this video? I think this might actually be the whole thing. I really don't like this kind of witch hunting in which someone goes on the internet and a place like Reddit, and they makes this post that's sensationalist. It is not sticking closely to the facts of the situation. The claims are not really based on any facts, just like, they read this information and they didn't do an unbiased reading. They just kind of had some feelings about this, and they turned those into facts. At least they're claiming they're facts, right? And then they create a list of games. They're using the software, and they go on a witch hunt against these developers. And this is the kind of shit developers have to deal with. It kind of pisses me off that they have to deal with this kind of bullshit from players, where it's like this is just some software they're trying to use to tell if their marketing campaigns are effective, if their marketing dollars are being spent well, which is very important. Marketing budget is a huge part of making a successful game, actually. And these people are like, oh my god, they're literally fucking Hitler. We should fucking get our torches and pitchforks and burn these fuckers at the stake. I think it's a little bit of an overreaction for a company that's, probably much more, as far as I can tell, much more careful with your personal information than Reddit, Google, Facebook, YouTube, which is kind of Google again, but you get the idea. Steam itself. Many games you play and other data analytics they have, because they guarantee you developers have other data analytics, right? The data analytics that are used for like bug reporting and tracking trends and how users behave and stuff, and what kind of computers people have, way more invasive than Redshell, right? Like average data analytics used to just debug games, way more invasive than Redshell. Okay, I guarantee you that every single game listed on, this is the wrong thing, listed on here has their own data analytics, they're not being talked about, that are actually pretty invasive, whereas Redshell is fairly benign and not very invasive and doesn't track that much personal information about you. Okay, so in visiting Reddit, visiting most websites, is if you don't have script blockers and ad blockers enabled, is going to be much more invasive than this software. So the point is that these sort of data gathering services are very useful, and they have a place in, the world, in business, right? And you don't have to 100% like them. However, I don't think there's really justification to be witch hunting these guys who are making what appears to be actually a fairly consumer-friendly data gathering service that doesn't gather too much data about you and is fairly good at keeping it actually anonymous and private. So, yeah, I think that's my point here. I'm definitely, I don't want to be like I'm on the side of Facebook and them gathering all of your personal information, but I am on the side of people who create useful products and services that are executed well and within the context of what kind of product and services that they're actually creating. They make them as consumer friendly as possible and do it within the bounds of the law, which is more than I can say for companies like Facebook or Intel, for example. But it seems an awful lot like Redshell does actually fit that criteria. So it just kind of, I don't know, it kind of irks me to see these guys getting shit on, not seemingly because they've actually done anything particularly bad, but because, someone made a nasty post about them on Reddit, in which they implied that they're doing something bad without any evidence. Now, this isn't 100% to say that maybe they are actually mining more information from your computer than they're supposed to. Maybe they're even flat out breaking the law and selling the information to people and doing all sorts of skeezy stuff. I don't know, but neither does the guy making this post. Doesn't have any reason to believe that, and to all appearances, it's quite the opposite. And so I don't know, that kind of stuff pisses me off. What's the moral of the story in all this? Don't jump to conclusions. Actually, maybe check what the supposed source of information for these like idiotic posts is, and come to your own conclusions. There's this. I'm gonna put this Redshell's little blog post and their main website and this Reddit post in the video description. Go read them yourself. Get your own opinion. And just don't buy into these like sort of fucking ridiculous, clickbait, sensationalist titles that have a lot more to do with the writer's bias than with the actual situation at hand. Yeah, that's the moral of the story here, I think. You don't have to agree with me, but at least, please form your own opinion based on real actual facts and reading up on the situation, and don't buy into this fucking shitty headline. And the other thing that pisses me off is that this guy's like, not only is he completely wrong because this is not related to Warframe, as it turns out. But after reading this, you should not have been like, holy potatoes! Digital Extremes is stealing our data. It should have been more like, oh, look, they're using some data analytics service, that I didn't know about before, among the many other data analytics services that people are using to track my data. It's not very shock and outrage worthy is kind of what I'm saying here. Even if it's not 100% a good thing. I don't actually mind this very much, but I would say that there are some levels of data tracking that are a little bit too much, Facebook. These guys don't seem to be doing that. So, all right, let's close that out. Let me know what you think of this kind of situation in the comments down below. And if you like this content, you want to see more like it, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Yakri out.